Archangel Michael says. This person, a stranger to you, walked into a local police station. There was nothing remarkable in their clothing, nothing in their hands to suggest danger. To any human eye, they were just another individual stepping in with a quiet purpose. But heaven's gaze pierced deeper, and I saw the subtle way they moved, how their eyes shifted quickly, scanning the room, noting who was present and who was absent. They did not arrive in a rush. No. Their approach was slow, calculated. They waited until a certain moment when the station felt quieter, when conversations in the background were low enough for their words to be easily missed by anyone not directly listening. Then, they leaned in at the counter, speaking in a tone soft enough to be called a whisper, yet deliberate enough to ensure every syllable reached the ear of the officer before them. And the words they spoke. They were not a casual inquiry. They were not a passing question from a lost traveler seeking directions. They were about you. Your name, spoken clearly. Your life, summoned into the air of that place. The officer's eyes shifted. For a brief second, I saw the human reaction, a spark of recognition, a flicker of curiosity, perhaps even a silent hesitation. They did not answer immediately. And that pause, child, was not coincidence. For even in that instant, heaven was watching the exchange, guarding what should not be revealed. But what struck me most was not just that your name was mentioned, it was the weight in the stranger's tone. It was not spoken with lightness. It carried intention. And in the spirit, I saw that this intention was not the kind that carries blessings, protection, or goodwill. No, it was laced with something quieter, darker, an interest that does not belong to love but to control, to intrusion, to the opening of doors that heaven has kept closed for your safety. Type Amen 787 to get blessings. Why now? Why here? And why this person? I tell you, beloved, the timing is not random. This was a strategic move in the enemy's plan, an attempt to slip through human systems to gain access to something heaven has hidden in plain sight. But here is the truth: before they even stepped into that building, I had already stationed watchful angels to ensure their steps would be recorded in the book of divine remembrance. What they thought was unseen was witnessed. What they believed was a private inquiry was heard in the courts of heaven. And before the next step of their plan unfolds, you must understand, this was not simply a person asking a question. This was a spiritual probe. And heaven is already responding. Do not be fooled by the face they presented at that counter. I tell you with certainty, what the human eye saw was only a carefully constructed image, not the truth of who they are or why they came. They spoke as if they were a friend. Their tone was dipped in concern, almost tender. They painted themselves as someone who only wants to help, someone worried for your well-being. They may have claimed they were looking out for you, that they were checking if you were safe, if you needed assistance, if you were in some sort of trouble. But here is the truth I must reveal to you: in the spiritual realm, false concern is one of the most dangerous disguises. It is the serpent speaking with a gentle voice, not to comfort but to coil. It is the wolf in sheep's clothing, wearing empathy as a mask while their true eyes remain fixed on their target. This stranger's words carried the illusion of care, but heaven measured their spirit, and found the undercurrent of another agenda. In their heart, there is not a true desire to protect you. Instead, there is a curiosity laced with self-interest, a longing to gather information for reasons they dare not admit aloud. Why? Because if they were honest about their intent, even the earthly officer before them would have questioned their presence. So they wrapped their questions in the clothing of compassion, knowing that human systems tend to open doors more easily when the request sounds like kindness. In the unseen, I saw this person rehearsing their words before they stepped into the building. They carefully shaped the sentences they would use, ensuring they sounded harmless. They even added subtle pauses, the kind that make a listener believe, this person truly cares. But I tell you, it was an act. Type Amen 908 to get blessings. Archangel Michael says, "This is why you must understand, the most dangerous enemy is not always the one who approaches you with anger or open hostility. Often, it is the one who comes with a soft voice and an outstretched hand, masking their true aim. And I have seen that their aim connects to more than just curiosity, it connects to a plan. This stranger is not operating in isolation. There are whispers behind them, voices from unseen meetings, suggestions planted in their mind by others who believe that if they can find out something about you, they will have an advantage. Perhaps they are working for someone who fears your next step. Perhaps they have been sent to confirm details about your movements, your location, or your connections. Whatever the exact purpose, know this, their actions are being fueled by something far from innocent. But here is the victory you must hold on to, though they hid their motives behind a veil of concern, heaven has already torn the veil. I have exposed their spirit before the throne of the Most High, and their deception cannot pass the divine tests of truth. So do not be shaken. What was hidden is being uncovered. And as their mask begins to slip in the days ahead, the real story will come into the light, and you will see that what they presented as care was only a shadow for something far more calculated. You may believe this stranger is a new face in your story, someone with no connection to the chapters you've already lived. But I must tell you, there is a hidden thread that links them to your past. And that thread, though invisible to the human eye, is plainly visible in the spiritual realm. This person is not here by coincidence. Their steps toward that police station were not born from random curiosity. They are tethered, spiritually and in some way physically, to an older situation, an older wound, an older conversation that was never fully resolved. They may not have been in your life directly, but they have walked in the shadow of those who were. I have seen the faces behind them, people who have carried your name in their mouths for years, not as a blessing, but as a bargaining chip. People who have made decisions that affected you without your knowledge. People who have kept their eyes on you, not because they love you, but because they want to know how much you know, and how much power you could wield if you ever decided to speak. This stranger's arrival is not just about the present moment. It is a ripple from a stone thrown long ago. Perhaps the original thrower of that stone has faded from your life. Perhaps you even believed that season was over. But in the spiritual realm, unfinished matters often try to return through new vessels. Type Amen 670 to get blessings. I see a connection, a shared acquaintance, a distant relative, a mutual contact, or even an old adversary, who has whispered in this stranger's ear. It could be that they know your story only in fragments, yet those fragments have been colored with bias, lies, or half-truths. And now, they are here not to learn the full truth, but to confirm a version of events that benefits someone else. Archangel Michael says, "The enemy is skilled at recycling old battles. If they could not defeat you in the past, they may try again through new faces, new strategies, and new disguises. That is why this person is being used, not because they stumbled upon your name by chance, but because there is an open line between them and someone from your history who has unfinished intentions toward you. But here is where heaven turns the tide. Just as a thread can connect someone to your past, it can also be pulled until the entire web unravels. This connection they have will be their undoing, because in trying to access you, they will expose the ones pulling their strings. You are not standing where you once were. You are not the same person you were in the days when that original harm was done. What they do not realize is that every step they take toward uncovering you will only lead to the uncovering of themselves and those who sent them. The string they thought would pull you closer to danger will instead be the cord that ties them to the light of divine justice. And when heaven shines on that cord, every hidden hand connected to it will be revealed. It was not simply that they asked about you, it was what they asked and how they asked it that caused the heavens to pause. Understand this: casual questions pass through the air every day, harmless and fleeting. But the question this stranger asked at that counter carried the precision of a key sliding into a lock. It was not the clumsy curiosity of a passerby, it was the calculated phrasing of someone who had been instructed on what to say to get exactly what they wanted. They did not stumble over your name. They pronounced it with clarity, as if they had rehearsed it. Their voice was steady, yet there was a subtle press in their tone, the kind that demands an answer without appearing forceful. They did not ask, "Do you know this person?" No, their words were sharper. They asked in a way designed to bypass suspicion, to make the request sound like it came from someone entitled to the information. Whether it was your whereabouts, your legal standing, your address, or details about a matter involving you, they framed it so it seemed logical for the officer to respond. Type Amen 998 to get blessings. But I tell you, beloved, in the spirit realm, the moment that question left their lips, it triggered a chain reaction. Angels recorded it instantly, for such inquiries are not neutral, they open spiritual doors if left unchallenged. That is why heaven's interception was swift. You must know this: the enemy often uses questions to set traps. One question can plant a seed of suspicion in the mind of an authority figure. One carefully worded inquiry can shift how someone sees you, even if nothing is proven. It is a subtle form of warfare, not with weapons that pierce the body, but with words that pierce perception. This stranger knew that if they could make their request seem innocent, they might gain access to sensitive details, details they could later use against you or pass along to others with intentions far from pure. In the unseen, I saw that their purpose was twofold. First, to gather, to collect pieces of information that should remain locked away. Second, to test, to see how easily the human gatekeepers around you could be swayed into opening those doors. But what they did not realize was this: even as their lips formed the question, a stronger authority than any human system was present. Angels stood like sentinels, shielding what was sacred, ensuring the information they sought would be unreachable. Even if the officer before them knew something, an invisible restraint was placed on their spirit, keeping them from speaking more than heaven allowed. Archangel Michael says, "I say this with urgency, this question was not the end of their plan. It was only the opening move in a larger game. And now that they have failed to receive what they came for, they may return in another form, with another approach, or through another person entirely. You must be vigilant. Their question has revealed their intentions. And heaven has taken note. You may think of interrogation as something that happens under bright lights, with stern voices and direct accusations. But in the spiritual realm, interrogation often comes softly, hidden in casual conversations, gentle questions, and seemingly harmless exchanges. The enemy knows that most hearts will lower their guard when approached without hostility. This is why such probing often comes dressed in politeness, concern, or even humor. But make no mistake, the spirit behind it is strategic. The stranger at the police station was not simply curious. They were part of what I call a spiritual interrogation. This is when the enemy sends someone, knowingly or unknowingly, to test the boundaries of your life, to see where the walls are high and where the gates might swing open. It is an attempt to gather intelligence, not about what you own in the natural, but about where you stand in the spiritual, emotional, and even legal realms. Such interrogations rarely begin with the most invasive questions. No, the enemy starts small, asking for harmless-sounding details to gauge your defenses. If you offer them nothing, they adapt. If you give them a little, they press for more. They are always measuring, always calculating. And here is what heaven sees clearly: the goal of these spiritual interrogations is not just to learn about you. It is to prepare a strategy against you. Information is their weapon. What they gather in whispers today, they plan to use in accusations tomorrow. Child, understand this truth: the enemy cannot operate in total darkness. They require fragments of truth to weave believable lies. That is why such people seek out information from places of authority, hoping it will add weight to the story they wish to tell. Type Amen 906 to get blessings. This is why I stood in the station that day. My wings covered the unseen records. My presence sealed certain answers behind divine silence. For had they succeeded, the next step would not have been immediate confrontation. It would have been the slow building of a false narrative, one designed to harm your reputation, your peace, or even your stability. Beloved, when I say guard yourself, I do not only mean your possessions or your words. Guard your access points. Be mindful of who is asking questions about you and where those questions are being asked. Sometimes the enemy will not approach you directly. They will try to learn about you through others who hold information, hoping you will never know the questions were even asked. That is why heaven warns you now: there may be more than one attempt. If they fail once, they will try again in another place, through another person, using another angle. But you will not be caught unaware, because I will prompt your spirit, quicken your discernment, and show you the signs before they approach. You are not defenseless. Spiritual interrogations are only effective when they remain hidden. Now that this one is exposed, its power is broken. Before you even knew this stranger existed, before they rehearsed their words, before they stepped into that police station with hidden motives, heaven was already ahead of them. Archangel Michael says, I tell you this with certainty: your protection does not begin when the threat appears. It begins long before, in the unseen planning rooms of heaven where strategies are drawn for your defense. The one who knows the end from the beginning saw their movements before they ever took shape, and angels were assigned to intercept their path. On the day they entered that station, there was not one moment when you were uncovered. I was there. My presence filled that space. While they believed their voice could pass unnoticed, every word was recorded in the scrolls of heaven. Every flicker of expression, every subtle shift in tone, all documented. When they spoke your name, I stood between it and the ears that heard it. I did not allow certain truths to be revealed. Even if the officer before them had knowledge that could be dangerous in the wrong hands, a divine restraint settled over their mind. The words that could have been spoken were swallowed. The conversation turned, and the door they hoped to pry open remained locked. Type Amen 567 to get blessings. You see, beloved, protection is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like confusion in the enemy's camp. Sometimes it is a sudden forgetfulness that strikes a person who meant to speak against you. Sometimes it is a clerk unable to locate a file, a record missing, at the precise moment it would have been handed over. What they call coincidence, heaven calls covering. And I tell you, the covering over you is not fragile. It is not shaken by their persistence. Even if they return, and yes, I see they may attempt to, the same shield that blocked them once will block them again. But you must remain in alignment with heaven's instructions, for the shield is strongest when you walk in the light and heed the warnings sent to you. This is why I have been whispering to your spirit lately, urging you to be careful about where you go, who you trust, and what you share. These promptings are not paranoia, they are preparation. Do not fear their resourcefulness. They may believe they have influence in earthly systems, but their authority is nothing compared to the court of heaven. Every move they make is already seen. Every word they plan is already weighed. Every scheme they set is already surrounded by the presence of angels assigned to dismantle it. Child of light, you are not walking into this battle unarmed. Even now, there are angelic warriors stationed at your side, ensuring that no information, no access, and no weapon formed against you will prosper. They thought they were the hunter. They did not realize they walked straight into a place where the host of heaven was already waiting. And now, beloved, the advantage is yours. Now that heaven has revealed the truth, I must give you your assignment, because divine protection is not only about what angels do around you, it is also about the choices you make in alignment with heaven's counsel. This is a time for heightened spiritual awareness. You must become more watchful than before, not from fear, but from wisdom. The enemy thrives in moments when people dismiss subtle warnings. That is why I am urging you to stay sensitive to every nudge, every inner stirring that tells you, do not share that, do not go there, or wait before you answer. These are not random thoughts, they are heaven's alerts to your spirit. Type Amen 789 to get blessings. Guard your personal information with greater care. Do not assume that every request for details comes from a trustworthy source, even if the person sounds kind, familiar, or official. In this season, you must measure every question against the Spirit's witness in your heart. If there is hesitation within you, honor it. Be mindful of your conversations. The enemy will not always come directly to you, sometimes they will approach people in your circle to gather what they could not get from you. This means you must also be wise in who you confide in right now. Share only what is necessary, and only with those who have proven themselves faithful through both silence and loyalty. I see another attempt forming. It may not come from the same person, but the spirit behind it will be the same. They may send someone else to approach you in a place you least expect, perhaps a public setting, perhaps through a chance meeting, or even through a message meant to sound urgent and innocent. When it comes, I will whisper to your spirit again. Listen closely, and you will know. Archangel Michael says, you are also called to pray strategically. Do not only pray for protection, pray for exposure. Ask heaven to bring every hidden connection, every secret conversation, every false report into the light where it cannot survive. Pray that the very people who attempt to gather against you will be moved by the hand of God to reveal their own plans without realizing it. And there is one more instruction I give you now. Do not respond in haste. The enemy will try to provoke a reaction from you, either through fear, anger, or frustration. But your strength will be in measured silence and spirit-led responses. The less they know about what you are thinking or planning, the less they can use against you. You are not powerless in this. In fact, your obedience in following these instructions will turn the tide so strongly that what was meant to trap you will backfire, causing the trap setters to become ensnared in their own devices. Remember, beloved, I go before you, I stand beside you, and I guard behind you. You are shielded on all sides. The stranger who walked into that police station believes they were clever. They believe they acted unnoticed, that their questions slipped quietly into the air without consequence. They believe that you are unaware, unprepared, and perhaps even vulnerable. Type Amen 758 to get blessings. But here is the truth, they have miscalculated in ways they cannot yet see. They do not know that you are not merely an ordinary person, you are one marked, sealed, and set apart by heaven. They have touched a name written in the book of life, and that act alone has stirred the attention of the Almighty. In trying to gather information about you, they have stepped directly into the center of a spiritual battlefield where you are not standing alone. They do not realize that every step they took toward you was already intercepted in the Spirit. That before they even formed their plan, the Lord had already dispatched me and other warriors to ensure that their hands could not reach what they sought. They do not know the depth of your endurance, that you have walked through storms far greater than their schemes, and you have emerged stronger, wiser, and more discerning. They think they are dealing with someone easily intimidated, but they are facing a soul fortified by trial and sustained by grace. Beloved, what they also fail to see is this: the moment they spoke your name with hidden intent, they invited the light of heaven to shine on every hidden part of their life. Just as they sought to uncover you, they themselves are now being uncovered. The same spiritual laws they attempted to manipulate are now working against them. I tell you, their plans will unravel not because you fight them in the natural, but because the spiritual weight against them will grow heavier each day. Confusion will visit their camp. Miscommunication will disrupt their alliances. Doors they thought would open for them will shut without explanation. And soon, the truth will rise to the surface. The whispers they thought were private will be repeated in places they never intended. The names of those connected to them will come into the open. And what they meant for harm will serve as proof of your innocence and confirmation of heaven's protection over you. Archangel Michael says, "Must stand firm in this. Do not let their attempt plant fear in your heart. Let it instead awaken the awareness of how valuable your life truly is in the eyes of heaven, for the enemy only moves with such precision against those whose destiny carries weight." Type Amen 189 to get blessings. The final word is this: they came for information, but they will leave with nothing. And in their failure, they will witness a greater truth, that no weapon formed against a child of the Most High can prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment will be condemned. They thought they could study you unnoticed. Instead, they will be the ones studied, exposed, and remembered, not for their success, but for their defeat before the armies of heaven.